Hey everybody, welcome to day 2 of our devotional, Done With That, Escaping the Struggle of Your Old Life. I'm Travis and this is Adam, and to do a little recap of today's devotional, it was all about humility. And humility is the opposite of arrogance. It's all about admitting our faults. And the devotional talked about how only the strong admit their faults and that they have weaknesses, and how if we humble ourselves before God and bring that to Him, He will lift us up through it. I really like this day because to me it really helps me think about God's grace and how God's grace is never ending and it covers us all.
Yeah, I appreciated that the definition didn't include, like, humility isn't that you're bad or you're awful, but rather that you are good, you are loved, you are valued, but that you have shortcomings. You're not perfect. You're good, but you're not the best thing since sliced bread, which, if you're gluten-free, sliced bread isn't that great anyways.
Living with humility will help us not only admit our faults, but bring those to God and acknowledge that we need God's grace to cover us. I think also acknowledging that will help us bring that grace into our relationships with other people as well.
Yeah, I liked that the devotional today, there's that little middle section that talked about, like, if you're feeling these things, or can you, like, how would you answer to these, yes or no? And one of them was, like, you're feeling anxious all the time. And I think that stems from a place of when I know in my life when I'm not maybe practicing humility as much as I should be, which I'm pretty good at it, but when I'm not as humble as I should be, I can feel anxious because I'm worried that somebody's going to call me out that I'm wrong, or that I'm going to be found out that I'm wrong, or that I'm not doing it right, or that I've made a mistake, which can lead to anger. That's like one of the other checklist things on that, because a lot of us don't like being told we're wrong, especially in this cultural climate of winning/losing dichotomies. We don't like losing or being told we're wrong, so we can lash out in anger and be like, no, you're wrong, because we feel it's our way or the highway, and that if everybody else would just have some common sense, then everything would be better. But really, it's our common, I don't know, it's in our head we think it's common sense, which leads to I think it's like the second or third one on the list is difficulty or unable to have good relationships or something like that. And again, it's if you're not able to admit when you're wrong, or you're not able to apologize for the way you behaved or something you did, or seek forgiveness, that really severs relationships. And in my life, I've seen it where as I've sought forgiveness, and been humble or practice humility with others, they've in turn done that for me, and our relationships have strengthened and grown. But I've seen it go the opposite way too. When I've really dug my heels in, they've dug their heels in, and we just start butting heads, and the relationship is strained a bit. And ultimately, I think all of this leads to that part of, like, God is there, God is willing to extend this grace, He wants to extend this grace, when we come to Him humbly and practice humility, but we can feel distant and dry if we're not willing to be humble with those around us and those we're in a relationship. How likely are we to practice humility with God and to bring all these things, to lay them at His feet, all of our shortcomings, our faults, our mistakes, our wrongs, our way is the highway kind of thinking? If we're not willing to lay that down with God and let Him take that and to correct us and to heal us, then we can begin to feel distant and estranged, because, again, it's our way or the highway. Like, I don't need your way, God. Like, it doesn't matter. So I really appreciated, like, this full scope of relational, like, how humility impacts all of our relationships with those in our lives and with God. So, and that there is grace, right? There's that ultimate grace of when we do lay these things down, God will take them, and He'll lift us out of that old life. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm jumping the gun.
The devotional gave us a couple verses there at the end, but I thought I'd share one more that I found about humility. It's 1 Peter 5:6 that says, "Humble yourself, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that He may lift you up in due time."
Yeah, that lifting up, that when we are humble with God, or we bring all this to God, He lifts us up out of this old way of living and brings us into this new relationship with Him, and heals these things and fixes them and corrects them in us when we're open to it. And just really brings us out of that into this new life. And then again, in relationships with others, when we are willing to be, when we do practice humility with others, like I said earlier, like I've seen it where when I'm humble with people, they're humble with me, and our relationships grow and strengthen, and it lifts up those relationships, which I think is like the call of Jesus, right? What he envisions for us as we follow him, because he knows we're going to screw it up, but that when we seek forgiveness and when we are willing to forgive, and we're not trying to just dig our heels in and butt heads, that really we're going to see some great things happen. And so I just, like, God will pull us up out of this mess. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us for day 2, all about humility. Please join us back here again tomorrow for day 3.